Monday, October 27, 1913.
Once again we take up our tale of the heavenly life, and hope to be able to tell you a little more of the love and blessedness which we experience in these bright realms. Our home is situated on the slope of a thickly wooded hill in a clearing, and our patients, for they are really such, are tended by us here, in peace and quiet, after their distressing experiences, in one or other part of those lands, where the light is dim, and darkness seems to enter into their very souls. They come here, more or less exhausted, and weak, and are only allowed to go onward, when they have become strong enough for the way. You would perhaps like to know somewhat of our methods here. Chiefly, these may be summed up in one word: love. For that is the guiding principle in all our work. Some are so overjoyed with the realization of the fact that we do not seek to judge and punish, but only to help them, that they are, from that very cause, ill at ease from its unfamiliarity. One of our poor sisters met our mother angel a little while ago in the garden, and was turning down a side path in order to avoid meeting her, not of fear but of reverence. But our bright angel went to her, and spoke kindly to her, and when she found she could talk quite freely, she asked a question. "Where is the judge?" she inquired, "and when is the judgment to take place?" I am trembling all the while with the thought of it, for I know my punishment will be a very dreadful one, and I would know the worst, and get it over. To this the mother replied, "My child, your judgment will take place whenever you desire, and from your own words I can tell you that it has already begun. For you own that your past life is worthy of punishment, and that is the first step in your judgment. As to the judge, well, she is here, for you yourself are judge, and will mete out to yourself your punishment. You will do this of your own free will, by reviewing all the life you have lived, and, as you bravely own up one sin after another, so you will progress. Much of your punishment you have already inflicted upon yourself, in those dark regions from which you have lately come. That punishment, indeed, was dreadful. But that is past and over, and what you have now to endure will be dreadful no longer. All dread should now be past. Painful, deeply painful, I fear it will be. But all through you will feel that He is leading you, and this more and more as you go on in the right way. But, persisted the inquirer, I am perplexed, because I do not see the throne of the great judge, who will reward some and punish others. You will, indeed, some day see that throne, but not yet. The judgment you are thinking of is very different from what you imagine. But you should have no fear, and, as you progress, you will learn more, and understand more, of God's great love. That is what perplexes many who come over here. They expect to find all set ready for their dismissal from the presence into torture, and cannot understand things as they are. Others, who have cultivated a good opinion of their deserts, are much disappointed when they are given a lowly place, sometimes a very lowly one, and not ushered immediately into the presence of the enthroned Christ, to be hailed with His well done. Oh, believe me, dear son, there are many surprises awaiting those who come over here, some of a very joyful kind, and others the reverse. I have, only lately, seen a very learned writer, who had published several books, talking to a lad who, in the earth life, was a stoker in a gasworks, and being instructed by him. He was glad to learn too, for he had partly learned humility, and the curious thing was, that he did not so much mind sitting at the feet of this young spirit, as going to his old friends here and owning up his mistakes and his vanity of intellect in his past life. This, however, he will have to do sooner or later, and the young lad is preparing him for the task. It is also whimsical to us, to see him still clinging to his old pride, when we know all about him, and his past and present status, which latter is rather low, and all the time, he is trying to think he is hiding his thoughts from us. With such, their instructors have to exercise much patience, which is also very good training for them. And now let us see if we can explain a difficulty which is perplexing many investigators into psychic matters. We mean the difficulty they have in understanding why we do not give them information which they desire, about one thing or another which they have in their minds. You must try to realize that, when we come down here, we are not in our proper element, but are hampered with limitations which are now strange to us. For instance, we have to work according to the laws which are in vogue in the earth realm, or we could not make you understand what we wish to do or say. Then, we often find that when anyone has his mind fixed on some particular person, whom he wishes to hear or see, or some special matter about which he wishes to inquire, we are limited by the straitened means at our disposal. Other reservoirs of power, in that inquirer, are closed, and those only are open to us, which he himself has willed should be open. And these are frequently not enough for us to work with. Then again, the activity of his will meets the activity of ours midway, as it were, and there is a clash, and the result is either confusion or nil. It is nearly always better to allow us to work in our own way, trustfully, and afterwards, to examine critically what we manage to get through. If information on any particular point is desired, let that point be in your mind, at times as you go about your daily occupation. We shall see it and take account of it, and, if it is possible, and useful, and lawful, we shall find opportunity and means, sooner or later, to answer it. If you ask a question while we are with you manifesting in one way or other, do not demand, but just put your thoughts before us, and then leave it to us to do what we can. Do not insist. You may be sure that, as our desire is to help, we shall do all we can. And now to a case in point. You have been wanting to know about Ruby and others. You have not insisted, and, therefore, we have been able to use conditions freely, and are able to give you some information. Ruby is happy as ever, and getting quite expert in the work she has in hand. I saw her only lately, and she says she will be able to come to speak to you, or Rose, very soon. Now you are wondering why she cannot come tonight. She has other duties, and also we have to fulfill ours according to plan. One thing she said was this: tell dear Daddy that his words to the people are brought here, and some of the things he tells them are discussed among us, because they happen to be of those things we have not learned of the earth life.
This seems well nigh impossible. Have I got this right?
There you go, you see. Now what do you think these dear angel children are, that you speak so? Do you not understand that the studies of those who came over here very young are mostly of the life and conditions of their new homeland, and that only little by little are they allowed to complete their knowledge of the earth, and its life which, nevertheless, has to be learned quite thoroughly, as they proceed onward? So it is that every means is used, with discretion, to teach them. And what better, or more likely way, could you name than by enabling the father to be instructor of his own child? I am not going to say any more about that. It is enough. Think it over in a common sense way, and you will perhaps come to a more enlightened frame of mind.
Well, but if what you say is true, one will be almost afraid to instruct one's people at all. And don't be cross.
Dear lad, no, I am not cross. But in you, at least, I have been grateful to find a certain enlightenment as to the conditions of this life and their naturalness, and up crops one of those silly ideas of the nebulous order, right in the midst of your mind. You are quite right, however, to think that you should be careful how you give instruction. But this applies not only to you, but to every one, and to all thoughts, and words, and deeds of every one. They are all known here. One crumb of comfort you can take, however. You may be sure that when anything unworthy, or base, is thought or spoken, that is never allowed to find its way into such a sphere as that in which Ruby is. So make your mind easy there, my dear, and do not fear to speak out your mind, for silence is sometimes less welcome here, than erroneous teaching, when that teaching is sincere. And now, good night, and best love to you all. God bless you, dear lad, and keep you brave and true.